I'll start in English now. Unusual introduction, but the Besenwagen parked again in Cologne. And we are welcoming all of you in the Volksbühne. And first of all, thanks to everybody who's taken his time or her time to come here. And celebrate a career tonight a little bit. And I also have to say thank you, of course, to our partners who always help to make an evening like this possible. First of all, Rose, thank you for having us tonight. Then Pilla, some of you is gonna win something tonight. Schwalbe, another one of you is gonna win something tonight. And Kloster Kitchen. And as always in our live podcasts, normally we want to say cheers with everybody of you.
Will you tell us first what's in it?
It's a ginger shot, and it's not upgraded.
Ooh.
It's not a finisher bottle. Cheers. We are welcoming tonight, I think, one of our, if not the most successful cyclist we ever had in the Besenwagen. Quick overview. Winner of the Giro d'Italia. He won more than one stage in every Grand Tour. He was second in the Tour de France when Geraint Thomas won. He was second in the Giro when Chris Froome won. He was world champion in time trialing and a two-time silver medalist in the Olympic Games. Yeah, I like riding my bike. I also raced a little bit in amateurs, but this guy is a little bit faster than, I guess, everyone in this room. Or was. Was. Welcome, Tom Dumoulin. And not to forget, my name is Bastian Marx.
It's coming to, was surprising. Paul Voss.
And I'm Andreas Stauf.
Okay, again to our guest from today. And I was very amused to discover, as one of the first things when I looked up things about you, that you are born on the most Cologne day ever. 11th of November, it's the birthday of Tom Dumoulin. And I was talking to Hendrik Werner, who had a pretty intense relationship to you a few years long. I will come to that again. And he told me that you actually like Carnival. And he told me a story, and you have to verify, because I think I have some stories about you. I found some stories about you, but some of them sound like urban myth. So he told me that one day you woke up like half in a costume still from Carnival, and doping control ring the bell.
Yeah, it's true. So it's true. I was born on the 11th of November, which is not only a big day of Carnival in Cologne, but also in Maastricht, where I'm from. So I'm from the very south of the Netherlands. Carnival is big. I even had Prince Carnival at the hospital where I was born. Prince Carnival in Maastricht. We have a prince. I don't know if that's common in Cologne.
Andreas
but he goes
is the
to all
expert.
babies born on the 11th of November. He visits them, and so I still have this little pin from Prince Carnival that I'm wearing every carnival. No, but so there was. In my childhood, I was also a big carnival. My family is really into carnival, so I went to celebrate carnival every year. But as a professional, of course, I was not really allowed anymore, and it was always the starting of the season, the cycling season. But one year I had in 2014, it was a Tour of Oman, and I had a really good winter. My training was going really well, and I was enjoying myself, and my values were very good, so I was really looking forward to the start of the season. But 2 weeks before the start of the season in Tour of Oman, I just wasn't feeling good anymore. I was tired. I had to skip training, and then my friends were all going to celebrate Carnival, and I thought, it cannot get any worse than this. So I just go out with them, and I just drink the shit out of myself, if I may say so. So I went there, and my ex-girlfriend, she painted me like a White Walker from Game of Thrones. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a really scary person. And I had a Viking suit with the paint on my face. And then I came home. So I went out. I had a great evening. Came home at 4 a.m. completely drunk, too drunk to take a shower or to even wash my face. So I went into bed, and yeah, of course, ding dong, 7 o'clock, doping control, and. I was still drunk, so I opened the door, and I didn't remember that I didn't wash off my face. So that I opened the door, and the doping controller was like, "Oh,
White Walker."
Yeah. So, but yeah, then it was back to business. I had to do my pee, and he took blood. I don't know, but it was negative, so it was all good. And I went back to bed, and 2 days later I flew to Oman, and I got 4th in GC, and so yeah, I think I needed that break.
A little carnival never hurt somebody, no. But would that be an achievement now, to become Prince Carnival once in Maastricht?
No, thank you. No.
Yeah, to give a bit of structure for the evening, I actually have one. We built everything a little bit around the year 2017, which was the most successful year in your career, I guess. And after I give an overview over this year, we start in your childhood, your pro career until 2017, and then you all and we will gonna have a break for 10 minutes or something, and afterwards we go into your career after this year, and talk, I guess, more personal stuff then, because I can already tell you it's going up like this till 2017, and then it's not going so straight again.
It's going down.
2017. Yeah, it was the first time you planned to tackle a Grand Tour, and it was a full success. It worked out. In this year, you were 3rd in the GC in the Tour of Abu Dhabi, 6th in Tirreno. You were national time trial champ. You won the Bing Bang Tour in the GC. You got world champion in time trial. You got over 3,000 UCI points, which gained you 5th position in the world ranking. And you became Knight of the Oranje Nassau and got the golden key to your city.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The first question which came to my mind was, how did it feel back then? How did it feel for you to have this year to that time, and did that feeling change over time?
I mean, 2017 was, like you said, it was the most successful year of my career, and everything just seemed to work out. Everything fell into place. Even when there were moments that I didn't feel 100% or I didn't feel fit, it suddenly fell into place, and I won, or I like Bing Bang Tour. I won it, but I wasn't even well prepared. So it was, everything fell into place that year, and I mean, it's the best year of my career, and I look back at it with a lot of joy. But it also, in hindsight, it was also a very difficult year, because it was the year that it completely changed from getting better every year, getting more successful, enjoying the sport. It also became the year that it meant a change in how people looked at me, and maybe even how I looked at myself, but also with all the pressure from outside. Since that year, it exploded, and I was suddenly, even today, we're 7 years later, and you still start with 2017. That's how big this year was, and that changed. That changed a lot.
But at that point, you could enjoy it.
At that point, I was enjoying it, but I was also experiencing a lot of stress. I wasn't sleeping very well. I remember I won the Giro in May, and then I had quite an easy summer. So I took a break. I had July off. I went to training camps to prepare the second half of the season, and then before the World Championships, I was racing the races in Canada, the 2 one-day races, Montreal and Quebec. But I remember I was not sleeping the whole week just because I had this big pressure of becoming world champion, and not pressure per se from the team or fans or whoever, but a lot of pressure from myself. I was so ambitious. I was actually, I think when I look back at it now, I was too ambitious, and I needed to take a step back even then. But when you're in that rat race, you want more, and you're hungry, and you want to continue, and that's what I did. And
it always worked out so far. So
it worked out that year. It worked out that year, and I'm happy it worked out that year. But it cost me a lot of energy, and
So you would say it was that you were over ambitious, or was it maybe also? Have you been maybe doubtful, or were you scared of failure, for example?
I was definitely scared of failure, but I'm just a perfectionist, and I wanted to do so well. I wanted to do it too good, you know. Some days I could have been more easy with myself. I think that would have helped me to have a longer career. I really took everything out of myself in a few years, chasing big dreams and being not per se healthy about it. You know, I was doing it in an unhealthy, stressful way. But also, I would say, if you ask me, would you do it differently with the knowledge that you have now? Probably not, because I think that unhealthy, stressful way was also
effective.
It was also effective. It was what I needed at that time. If the last part of my career, I was too relaxed. I was racing races, and I was at the start line, and I didn't feel any adrenaline. I didn't feel any stress. I had a good sleep. I had, I needed that stress hormone, you know, to get the best out of myself. So, it just happened the way it happened, and I'm happy with the year, of course.
Yeah, Hendrik called you the most self-responsible person he knows. So, maybe it's like that that you learn pretty fast also to take your time then when you felt uneasy.
I knew what was happening, but I didn't know. I didn't know what I know now. So I also needed some time to learn from that.
All right. Then let's see how you got there. Starting in your, don't call it childhood, but I got to know that you didn't have a background of cycling in your family. Nobody was a racer or
nothing.
something.
No.
So how did you fell in there?
I was actually just playing soccer like every young kid in the Netherlands does. You go and play soccer with your friends, football, whatever you like. But then, I noticed I didn't have a lot of feeling for the ball, but I had a lot of feeling for any physical thing like physical sports, like conditioning sports.
Endurance.
So I was a fast runner. And I just accidentally thought, okay, maybe cycling is something for me, and I never my family wasn't racing, my friends weren't racing, they weren't even riding a bike on a Sunday. I mean,
But how did you get that idea?
I don't know.
Did you watch Tour de France and find it interesting?
As a young kid, I'm from Maastricht, and as a young kid, the Amstel Gold Race, which starts now in Maastricht still, but finishes in Valkenburg. It finished also in Maastricht back in the days. So as a young kid, I remember me watching the Amstel Gold Race. Alongside the road, and I think that planted this little seed in my head, like, that's cool, you know, with all the helicopters coming closer and the riders and
the crowds.
Yeah, the crowds, and we had the big national, like the Rabobank team. I was fan of the Rabobank team, so I think.
It didn't take long.
No, it didn't take long.
To the Rabobank team.
Luckily, I didn't know anything about it, about doping back in those days.
Yeah.
So, and I think at 15, I decided, maybe that's something for me. And I went to the local cycling club, and I asked them, like, do you have a bike for me to borrow? And can I try? And I tried, and I was really bad, but I enjoyed it, and it was I think it felt like a completely new challenge that I liked. It was this puzzle that I needed to solve by myself, and suddenly I had this, I felt like I put a whole puzzle out of the box, and I had no idea how to solve it. Yeah, and then...
It was kind of the same with me, but I didn't solve it. You were already 15.
Yeah, I was 15.
Yeah, I started also with 15.
Yeah. Maybe
Maybe you can give me some tips.
Probably I had the luck of solving the puzzle, but also having the physical talent for it. So every year I got a little bit better, and then there was actually one winter from 18 to 19. Correct me if I'm speaking too much. You can, but
it's about that here.
Okay. No, in the winter when I became 19 years old, I was going from first year's under 23 to second year's under 23. I suddenly made a huge step forward in my physical. Like, I was suddenly making a big step, and then I was second in my first race, and I got invited by the new national coach to have national training, like the training for the national team, and we had to do hill sprints, and I won all those hill sprints, and nobody knew me, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I won all the hill sprints, and then he thought, oh, this guy is maybe... this guy could be talented. So he invited me for the first time with the Nations Cup. So I went with the Nations Cup and on a borrowed time trial bike.
You never rode a time trial bike before?
I never rode a time trial bike before.
This is the second urban myth I found.
Yeah, it's true. I never rode a time trial bike. So I borrowed one of my friends, of my teammates that I was in the club team with. And I didn't know how to do it. I raised my saddle. I remember I raised my saddle 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters even just before the time trial. I felt better. So I thought, let's do it. But it was a 3-day event in Portugal. And I won the time trial in front of Nelson Oliveira, Quintana, guys like them. And I won the GC as well, and then it completely skyrocketed from there. Because out of a complete nobody who was just doing club races, I won one of the biggest races on the international calendar, and suddenly, big pro teams were interested, and then you have this idea of this little kid knowing nothing about cycling, knowing nothing about the cycling world, having parents who know nothing about it, suddenly having big professional teams who do the Tour de France calling me like, oh, we want you in our team. It was completely mind-boggling at the time.
Who was the national coach back then?
Aart Vierhouten. You remember him? Yeah, he was also a former professional. Yeah.
But was that also the point for you where you started to enjoy time trialing? I mean, obviously it was your first time trial.
Yeah.
But from that point on, you were quite successful and firstly in time trial before becoming a really good climber and then like a pure GC rider.
Yeah. From that moment on, I knew that was some sort of a specialty for me, because back in those days I didn't have a power meter, I just had my feeling on the bike, and I didn't have any aerodynamics test. I had no knowledge at all, but I just did what felt right, and I paced myself. I think throughout my career, but especially in the best days, but even then, as a young kid, I had a really good feeling of my threshold. So I had a really good feeling of how much I could push without blowing myself up, and still pacing myself really well. And that's a specialty that I've used throughout my career. And
I mean, Andy and I mean, we're always saying that in the podcast. Sometimes we sound really old when we're talking about we could ride on fields, and because my first power meter I had with like I think 21 or 22 my last year as under 23 rider. So before always on feeling or heart rate. So then in the pro ranks you kind of always knew how good you are just by feel. I'm happy about that now as well. But how do you did you actually enjoy the suffering of time trialing? I mean, I didn't enjoy it, you know. I mean, no, I hated time trialing. Also doing 20-minute tests or 30-minute tests was the worst thing for me. So obviously you must have liked it.
I cannot say that I necessarily liked it, but I was very good at it, and I like things that I'm good at. So no, but I think I had this natural feeling of not only pacing, but also completely in the zone, focusing on everything but the pain. So I focused on getting my breathing right. I focus on my posture on the bike. I focus on cornering. I focus on everything, but I try to don't think about the pain. And some time trials I experienced a lot of pain. Those were not my best, but my best time trials I actually experienced the least amount of pain, because I mean then I was so in this little tunnel of myself that that's just a magical feeling. It's a feeling that I even today still sometimes miss, you know. I don't miss a lot about pro cycling, but that I miss those best days on the time trial bike, me, myself, and the bike, and then just going into that tunnel.
I can imagine what you're talking about. I had it once, just for not even for the whole time trial, you know, but for a little while, and you know.
Yeah, that's good, right?
It was really nice, but it was also the longest time trial I ever did was in the Dauphiné, was more than 50 kilometers. And it was a climb. Just the first 10K was just uphill. So after 2K, the first rider passed me. Okay, he's probably going for the win, I thought. Then there comes the second rider passing me. And I was like, oh, that's already 2 minutes down on that one. So maybe, but it's the long time trial. Everything else downhill and flat. And then the third rider came already. And it was Dominik Rölz. He's here, over there, so that's why I remember. And then I thought, I cannot get dropped by him now, so I have to get back. And in the downhill, I passed him again, and then I was chasing him, you know, all the time. I was really motivated. Thank you, Dominik. I was the first time and the last time I was in the zone on the time bike.
Yeah, but at least for a little while, it felt very good, right?
So at that point, it was clear you probably don't have to work anything else than cycling. Did you plan to become anything else before?
Yeah, so before I made this huge step forward and before all the professional teams were suddenly interested, I never had the idea of becoming a professional cyclist. I felt like such a far away out of my bed show, you know. It was just a hobby for me. So I wanted to become a doctor. Actually, I tried to study medicine, but in the Netherlands it's a lottery study. So not everyone who wants to study medicine can do it. And I didn't get in, and then I started health science at the University of Maastricht, but I didn't like it from the start. And at that same moment, my cycling career went up and up and up, and then quickly the choice was easy to make. I wanted to become a professional cyclist.
Yeah, nice. And from that year on, and your win in the Portugal Nations Cup, there was another TT win in the baby, today called Baby Giro afterwards, and then it worked out with Team Rabobank directly. But I read something, but just one sentence, and I don't know if it's true. There were connection to Cervelo test team, and they shut down or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in this year that I won the Nations Cup in Portugal and I won the time trial in the Baby Giro, one of those teams interested was Cervelo's test team. I don't know if somebody still remembers, but it was a big team with Thor Hushovd and Heinrich Hausler.
And they got cool jerseys.
Yeah, they were the cool kids in the World Tour. So they were interested, and they had a Dutch manager as well, and a Dutch sports director, Jean-Paul van Poppel, and I got into talks with them, and they sent me a contract, and suddenly it got real, you know. Suddenly one of the biggest, coolest team in the professional peloton wanted me. So I had the contract at home, and then I got the call from the Dutch manager, Joop Albeda was his name, that the team folded. And that the team stopped at the end of the season, and that there was no place anymore for me. So, yeah, that was a big blow, and there was also a touch of reality. Like, okay, this is
not the most stable business.
No, it's not the most stable business, and I think it's more stable nowadays. But back in those days, there were teams starting and folding all the time, and I got unlucky. So I did 1 year Rabobank development team, but then I got into the pro ranks with Argos Shimano, the team DSM Firmenich PostNL team from now.
Why didn't you move from Rabobank Devo to the pro team?
Because every year it was the plan sort of the Devo and the professional team to get 2 riders from Devo to professional ranks, and that year they had Jetse Bol and Ramon Sinkeldam, who were both 4th year, and they were having a really good season. Ramon Sinkeldam was a national champion and won some races. Jetse Bol won a lot of big races, so they were kind of a safe option. And then you had the mega talent Wilco Kelderman, who was also. I was just in a super strong generation of riders. So they had 3 riders coming over to the pro ranks already, and I didn't have an exceptional season that year. So they thought, okay, he's having another season at the under 23s, but I wanted to become professional. So then I got an offer from Argos Shimano, and I took it.
Yeah, that team was crazy strong. I thought you could take 8 people out of that team and send them to the Tour de France nowadays.
Yeah,
it was Rowan Dennis, Wilco Kelderman, Dylan van Baarle, Moreno Hofland. You said Sinkeldam, and a few other guys who kind of still race. And crazy strong palmares. But you had a good year. It wasn't exceptional, but it was very good. You had also podiums and GC victories in that year. You did a lot of races, and Argos Shimano got interested. And you switched and had your first professional year, and also that went pretty well. You had top 10 GC in the Ruta del Sol, in Tour de Luxembourg, in Burgos. You got 5th in Rundum Köln.
Yeah, I
Andy
remember
was
that
also
race.
racing.
I remember that race. Czech rider won. No, Barta. I remember.
Jan
him.
Barta.
Yeah, in horrible, dreadful weather.
Yeah, it was really cold day. I remember it.
Andy was
You were there?
kind of 30.
Yeah, I was there.
What did you get?
I was 24th, I think. It's not a flat race, Köln. Actually, it's one of the hardest one-day races there is, if the speed is good. Like, really personally, I never scored a higher TSS score than in Köln, except Tour of Flanders.
That year?
Not that year.
Oh, okay.
No,
Really?
that year was really slow.
Really?
Huh?
I think the highest for me was in Grand Prix Montreal one year, also in the rain.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the rain, you always get crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Marcel Kittel, who was racing with you in that year, and he told me the first of 2 stories with stomach problems we have tonight. You were racing the Tour of California, and he said after one stage, or was it after one stage? I guess so. Yeah, it was pretty hot, and you were like drinking 1 liter of chocolate milk on eggs.
Well, I had he probably didn't tell you that he was out of the race after 2 days already. Yeah. So, no, I was racing Tour of California, and it was all a bit difficult with getting our nutrition. It was a traveling race, of course, and you don't have all the nutrition and everything and all the materials there. So I read somewhere online that it was very important after your race you needed to recover as quickly as possible. So recovery drinks, but we didn't have any recovery drinks. And I read online, chocolate milk is just as good as any recovery drink.
Sugar and protein.
Sugar and protein. So I thought, I need a lot of chocolate milk, and I was hungry, so I drank a whole liter of chocolate milk. But I didn't know back in the days that I couldn't handle milk proteins very well. So I was completely sick. I was completely sick after drinking the liter, and I was yeah. So yeah, that was a nice moment.
I will get a statement from Marcel of his performance in that race. The next year, also August Shimano. You rode your first Tour de France. You get 3 top 10s in 1 week GCs. And you told me you had the worst race of your career in that year. And we already told about that guy when we were backstage. One of our friends won that race. It was Milan-San Remo, 2013. Gerald Schirleck, Andy rode with him and he's good friends with him. And he was also on the podcast. He won it. But tell us about your experience. Rate it from 1 to 10.
Yeah, I mean, that was a -10, I think. I hated that race. Anyway, it was not really my race. Milan-San Remo was more like a climber type, and it was completely nervous sprinter sort of race. And but that year, the year that Gerald won it, it was the year that it was snowing. So it was like full on snow, and we had like a few centimeters of snow on the road, and we were still racing. And I honestly wasn't sure if I still had my fingers left. So after 150 kilometers, just before the Passo Torquino, they had all the buses at the bottom of Torquino, and we needed to get in the bus, go through the tunnel to the other side, because we were completely frozen, and it was completely apocalyptic. So we were riding already for 150 kilometers in... First, it started with 1 degree and rain, which was horrible already. And then it started completely snowing. And we got completely frozen into the bus. And then we needed to take showers. And it was sort of surreal. Like, are we really racing now in half an hour? You cannot be serious about this. So we needed to... we took showers. We had something to eat. and we needed to get back in dry clothes and race again in 3 degrees and rain, and I was just completely dead. I was completely dead. My legs. Throughout my career, I was never a fan of bad weather. My legs just blocked. I could really perform well in 40 degrees. I had no problem with that. But when it was below 15, I already didn't feel perfect anymore. So. Yeah, we got back out of the buses, and I actually didn't want to start again. But John Degenkolb was our leader, and he pretty much demanded that everyone got back on his bike and helped him, which was understandable. But I was not much help anymore. I just was shivering down the finish line, and that cost me my whole spring. I was very happy for Gerald, but no.
We have some other person who enjoyed that day.
You were there as well.
I was there, yeah.
And did you experience the same, or?
You know, there's a reason why you go faster uphill than me. And that's the reason why I like temperatures below 15 degrees much more. So for me, I mean, it was super cold for sure, but. I mean, I didn't suffer that much then.
For me,
from the cold, let's say, like a cold. And I was really happy that we passed the Torquino Pass through the tunnel. You know? So I was actually in a good mood when they stopped.
That was your best day of the
perfect Torquino.
But so you said you didn't like the race. So you didn't like Milan-San Remo at all, or just that year?
Well,
because
I needed to race.
You did it 5 times, so.
Yeah, I needed to. Out of those 5 times, I always asked not to race Milan-San Remo, and they always put me in the roster of Milan-San Remo. So, well, we didn't have many options in the team. So I was racing Sunweb and those, and we had one of the biggest guys who could win there was John Degenkolb, and later Michael Matthews. So both the same type of riders, perfect for Milan-San Remo, and they needed help after Cipressa. So at Cipressa, it was only a small bunch of 50, 60 guys, and I was almost 100% sure to make it over Cipressa because I was not suffering on Cipressa. So I was the only guy in the whole team who was getting over Cipressa 100% and being able to position a rider like Dege or Michael Matthews before Poggio, because you can take climbers, but then they are not strong enough to pull on the flat. And I was both, so I had to ride it every year, but I hated it. I really didn't want to, but I at least in 2015 we won it with Dege, so that was really special.
2014, it's called Giant Shimano from that year on. I don't have any story about that year. You got 3 podiums in 1 week races. You were 3rd in the World Championship individual time trial. You got national champion, and you were 2nd on a time trial in the Tour de France. So near miss on a first Tour de France stage win.
Behind Tony Martin.
Okay. He's still on our list for something like this.
Yeah. He's such a nice guy. I became teammates with him in the last 2 years of my career in Jumbo-Visma. And he was sort of my idol in the first few years because I was always battling it out from 2013, 14 onwards. I always became 2nd behind Tony Martin. And he was my big chase, you know, and then suddenly we were teammates. So I was like, I really felt like a little kid being a fan of the Besenwagen. So I really enjoyed it. And then he turned out to be a super friendly guy as well. So, but I loved him. Okay, side story. But I loved him in the bunch because he could be so aggressive. In the bunch, he could knock everyone over. Like, he had this big passion for his leader. He really was very focused on his leader, and he made fights in the peloton and a big Panzerwagen coming your way. And then he came into the bus and he called his wife and he "Hi, Schatzi," and
I remember him fighting with Luke Rowe.
Yeah. But that's one of those moments. Then I wasn't.
They were friends afterwards.
Yeah. Then I wasn't teammates with him, but because it was a year before. But I can completely see it in my mind how that went. Luke Rowe out and a hi Schatzi.
Yeah, I'm totally looking forward to him on this show. Let's go to 2015, and this was more of a key year, I would think, because accidentally you nearly won a Grand Tour. I don't know if it's accidentally. You can tell me in a few seconds. It's the Vuelta year. You got 4th in the Tour Down Under in the early season, 3rd in the Tour de Suisse, and then until the penultimate stage, you were leading in the Vuelta. But you kind of cracked on the last mountain stage, I guess. Just again to the question: was it accidental? Did you plan to go on GC there?
No. I definitely didn't plan to go for GC. I had my big goal that year to go. The Tour de France started in Utrecht in the Netherlands with a time trial of like 12 kilometers, 15 kilometers. So that was my big goal, and I got a bit sick. I had a little cold. I got 4th, not really what I came there for. But then it was a second stage was the echelon stage into Zeeland in the Tour de France. And I got into the first echelon, and suddenly I was 2nd or 3rd in GC, and I was the best climber. I had only Fabian Cancellara in yellow in front of me, I think. And I was the next day would be finish on the Muur de Huy, and I was actually 100% sure, like, okay, this is my chance. If I just do everything right and I ride my best pace on Muur de Huy, Fabian Cancellara is never going to be like 10. I needed to chase back 10 seconds or something. So that was my yellow dream coming closer. But I had a huge crash on the way to Huy. So I broke my shoulder, dislocated it, really nasty crash. And suddenly my whole dream was poof out of the window. But then I restarted training slowly, and I put the Vuelta on my schedule. But I couldn't really train much, so I couldn't do really intervals because my shoulder was still very painful. But I took it easy, and I went into the Vuelta. I lost a few kilos. I think that helped. But without any ambition, and then suddenly I found myself there in top shape, and it came pretty much out of nowhere. Got 2nd on the first day, won 2 stages, was riding in leader's jersey until the penultimate day, but then in the 3rd week I just completely cracked. I mean, I didn't know what it was like to be riding GC. It was so stressful. I needed to be on tip of my toes for 3 weeks, and I wasn't prepared. It was completely new to me. The team was really not there to help. It was not designed to help me win the Vuelta, you know. So we were all caught up by surprise, and I just cracked. I was finished in the last week. I already felt it for a few days that I was getting less and less and less, and I could fake it for a few days. I could hang on, but then one day I completely cracked, and that was it.
Yeah, I remember everyone was super surprised. Also, the press, even me as a fan. What's Tom Dumoulin doing there?
Yeah. I had some days I had 3 doping controls every day because they didn't trust me, and I sort of can understand, but that meant I had a late evening doping control. Then I went to sleep very late because it's Vuelta and you eat sometimes at 10:30, so you sleep after 12, and then I had my time slot really stupid at 6. So some days they would knock at my door at 6 a.m. already, and then I couldn't sleep anymore. So the whole last week, I just full of stress and little amount of sleep, and I completely cracked. Yeah.
You mentioned before that actually the whole stress around your person started 2017.
Yeah.
But after the World, nothing happened. Dutch media, I mean, usually they're also waited for years. Like in Germany, you're waiting for like, I don't know, 20 years now for like a new GC rider who is potentially winning the Tour. And back then, I mean, you almost won the World, so there was no hype around you.
Yeah, there was, but not like 2017. It was different, also because I didn't win it, I think, and also because 2016 I didn't want to focus on doing GC, so I took the pressure off myself a little bit. So it wasn't the same as in 2017. No.
And did the team started back then like to reshape the team to say like, all right, we now know maybe Tom potentially can go for GC, so we might have to buy in some climbers and so on?
A little bit, but not completely throw everything out of the window. Yeah, they started to shift from a full-on sprinter team to more of a GC team, but not like completely like, okay, this is the new guy, he's going to be the new big deal, and we solely focus on Tom. No. Luckily not.
Yeah, but I you know, like these days, if that will happen to you, like in 2024, where you're leading the World for like 3 weeks, let's say, and then last day you're collapsing, whatever. But then everyone will know how strong you are and seeing your power fights and so on, and just like predicting, oh, potentially could do that. But back then it was more like, all right, he almost won it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then next year you're concentrating on time trialing because of Olympic Games and so on. I think these days that will be possible, but probably the team will have a say and say, all right, let's go towards that direction. Yeah,
I think it's just different nowadays than from, I mean, it's 10 years ago already, almost. So, yeah, it's just different. And, I was happy and lucky afterwards that there was no big hype like it was in 2017. Yeah.
So in the next year, 2016, you didn't go into Giro and Tour de France with so much pressure, as I understood now, because as you rode both, and you won 2 stages in both, a normal stage and a time trial, but you didn't finish both.
Yeah.
But
one was planned, one was not.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So in 2015 we had to start in the start of the Tour de France in Utrecht, in the Netherlands, which was big. But the year after it was the start in Apeldoorn of the Giro, also again in the Netherlands. So I really also with the TT. So I really wanted to go there also to take revenge for Utrecht, you know, and also to potentially take the pink jersey. So, but I also wanted to do a full Tour de France because I wanted to focus on stage wins and to use that as my last preparation for the Olympics, which was my main goal. So together with the team, we made a plan to do half the Giro and to do a full Tour de France. So at the half, I went out of the Giro, and then preparing for the Tour de France. And a few days before Paris in the Tour de France, I crashed out with a broken wrist. So yeah.
Yeah, but you won in Andorra Arcalis. This is for Germany is a miraculous place. Jan Ulrich won there. And
that's the reason. Yeah.
The broken wrist, you gained your first silver medal then in your season highlight. But was the broken wrist a problem in the preparation then?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I won the Tour de France time trial 2 weeks before with a big margin. I think more than a minute. I was in the shape of my life. I was in the best possible shape that I could be in. I think I had 1.5 minutes to Cancellara, or maybe even more. So yeah, I was I think one of the top favorites, or maybe the top favorite for gold in Rio. And then I crashed out, but I couldn't really ride my bike. I had a cast around my wrist. So I couldn't really train. I had a lot of pain, but luckily it wasn't going completely through the fracture. So I could race. Well, the doctor said, okay, you're going to have a lot of pain, but at least you cannot break anything. You cannot worsen everything, anything by continuing. That was everything that I needed to hear. So I thought, okay, pain is an emotion that I can handle. But I mean, sometimes pain is more than an emotion. It was very difficult to prepare. And then I think I wasn't in the best shape of my life anymore. And Fabian Cancellara, who won gold, was. So I lost. For my feeling in Rio, I lost gold. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We arrived in 2017, and now, as I understood, it was first time really the goal to win a Grand Tour in that Giro.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2015 was sort of by accident. 2016. Was mainly focused on Rio and going for stage wins in the Tour de France, and then 2017 was my first year, like that I knew from winter on. Okay, the Giro is going to be the main goal. We're going to be riding for GC. We have a whole team prepared for that. We have me prepared for it, and let's see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, turned out pretty well. Yeah. Although I was talking to Hendrik, and he told me. You were doubting yourself a lot in the time before. You had phone calls with him, like to explain to everyone. Hendrik Werner, he was on Besenwagen, of course, before, I guess 2 times.
He's from here, from Cologne.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's not really from here, but he lived here.
Yeah, he lived here. Okay.
And he was your coach at Sunweb for 3 years, I think.
3 years,
3 or 4. Yeah. And when you ask him, I don't know. I ask you. You had a pretty special relationship. You worked pretty well
we had a really
together.
special relationship. Yeah.
And he was telling me that you were calling him before and said, fuck, I have to go there next week, and I don't feel good. And I see the other guys like Quintana or someone, and they seem to be in top shape, and I don't know. But your feeling wasn't realistic.
No, but I didn't feel like a podium candidate for a Grand Tour. I felt I saw all these big names: Quintana, Nibali, Pinot, and I thought I'm never going to be on that level. That's not my level on climbs. So my feeling was if I can replicate my Vuelta, like 6th place at the end in GC, that would be really nice. That was actually that would be a good first step, and then we'll look from there. And then it turned out to be different.
So there was no plan to go and try to win it, but just do a good GC.
Yeah, to do as good as possible, but not really with the mindset of winning it. I mean, it didn't feel like a realistic plan. We had a good preparation, but like Bastian said, it was. I felt insecure also. So it was. Yeah, I was not with that mindset. No.
What was the biggest change in the winter 16 to 17 for you regarding training, going from time trial to climbing better?
I was riding a lot uphill, so I was doing that sounds okay. No, but I went on multiple altitude camps, and I was just I was less focusing on time trialing and more focusing. I always thought as a 20-kilometer mountain, when I saw that in the road book, I was like Andreas. I was like, oh man,
calculating the time limit.
Yeah. Well, not really fighting time limit, but I never thought of it as a chance. I always thought of it as, oh, that's going to be so painful. I hate it. And by doing it a lot in altitude training camps, I was riding uphill every day, multiple times, 20 kilometers or 25 or 30. And by just doing it more and more and more, I got used of the mindset, but also my muscles and everything, my whole physique was used of just grinding through, you know. So I was getting more and more of a climber and less explosive, but more climbing.
But could you make the switch from like the mindset you had in time trial onto the climbs? Like, could you transfer that? Like, because you said before, you in time trial you can really like focus, and not enjoying the pain, but like, you know, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Did you have the same then on the climbs?
Yeah. I started doing the same on the climbs. What I did wrong before, I think, was, like I said, I was always thinking about the pain. I was thinking about how long it would take. Another 6 kilometers into the climb. And now I was trying to approach this as a time trial. So I thought, okay, I just need to grind through, focus on my goals, focus on my tasks, focus on getting my rhythm, focusing on my breathing, focusing on my competition, but everything outside of the pain. So I don't want to focus on the pain. I don't want to focus on how long it is. I don't want to focus on, oh shit, they are riding above my threshold now. I can only maintain this for this amount of minutes. I put my power meter away. In races, I never raced with the power meter, or I raced with it. Yeah. So yeah, that changed.
Okay, and why did you and the team choose the Giro and not the Tour or the Vuelta as like the main target? Because the Giro,
Yeah,
I know there's like long time trials, but still it's like a lot of climbing.
Yeah, because the Tour would have been a too big of a step.
I mean, you almost won it then as well that year. Or you
the year after. Yeah,
the year after, but
the year after. No, the Giro was like a good first step. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the first stage I remember is the blockhouse stage. Was already quite into the race. The first thing I remember is that Geraint Thomas rode straight in the back of a motorcycle just before blockhouse, which was a pretty long mountaintop finish. And until there, I guess you already won a time trial, and you were pretty far up in the GC. Did you lead it? No. Yeah.
Sorry.
Did you lead the GC?
No,
already
not
there?
in blockhouse. No.
Yeah.
No.
And Nairo Quintana won, but I remember, it was 2017, we didn't do the podcast already, we started in 2018, so I was just a fan. I didn't have anything to work in cycling. I was just a fan following the Giro, and I remember like you dropping a bit back while they were climbing up and Nairo was attacking, and then you came back slowly, but as you were saying, you were grinding, and
yeah, I think throughout my whole career, but also this 2017 Giro, I was never a pure climber. I was not a natural climber. So my strength was my pacing, and not my pacing on power. So I was not looking at my power meter like, oh, I can only do 420 watts and that's it. No, I was just pacing on feeling. And whenever they did huge attacks, I didn't want to go multiple times above my threshold because I knew I was not that kind of rider. I could do that once, but not the whole climb. And Quintana, Pinot, they're just jumping all the time, you know. And that's not my pacing, so I let them go, and I came back on my own pace.
Yeah. Same thing. A few days later. On the stage finish was Europa, and I watched that yesterday, and I noted a pretty cool sentence of the commentator who was saying this. He was totally freaking out about your performance in the English commentary, and he was saying like Tom Dumoulin, he doesn't want just to be a time trialist, he wants to be a hero also. And you were winning that stage, like you were overtaking all the climbers and
like
winning
I
that
approached
stage.
it the same way. So the climbers attacked in the beginning of the climb, and I let them go again, and I paced myself on feeling again back to them, and then one big sprint at the end.
Yeah, now comes the stage with the second time stomach problems. Yeah, everybody who knows something about you knows that day, and it turned out in the end not so bad. I read that you already an interview with you where you said you were just like over fueling on that day. You were afraid to 2 times Stelvio, I guess, nearly 6,000 altitude meters on that day.
Yeah, or 5, or at least a lot. Yeah.
Pro Cycling Stats says like 5,800.
Yeah?
It was Mortirolo, Stelvio, and another time Stelvio.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's totally crazy. So you were thinking better eat a little bit more than too few. And you took your nature break after the first time Stelvio.
Yeah.
And the question that's most important for me is how did you manage after that to only lose 2 minutes on Nibali? You were still in the race lead afterwards.
Yeah, so I was just over fueling this day because I was afraid for a hunger flat. So I thought, I need to eat as much as possible. So I was over fueling already before first time Stelvio, and we rode up, and it's more than an hour climbing. And I thought, I didn't eat for an hour, because the pace was really high and I couldn't eat. So I need to quickly eat on the top, and I ate a bar real quick at altitude at 2,800 meters, and it didn't feel right immediately. So we went down. It felt really bad. I came down. It felt worse, and then I thought, I really don't want to stop. This is impossible. But the group where I was at, they slowed down a little bit because nobody wanted to ride, and I thought this is my chance, but I didn't dare to go. I thought it will go away, I went to the car, took a Loperamide or what is it, and I hoped, it's a small medicine for diarrhea, and I hoped that it would go away, but it didn't. And then Laurens came back, Laurens and Dam, he was in the front, one of my teammates. And he came back and he saw my face and he thought, this is not good. And I told him what I was handling with. And at that time, Orca Green Edge, or one of those teams, they started pulling. So there was no way of stopping anymore. And it was in a valley. And I thought, okay, I have to stop now. I have no other option anymore because I can almost not ride my bike anymore. But the pace is way too high. If I stop here in the middle of the valley, I will lose, before we start climbing, I will have lost 2 minutes already on the group chasing. So what I need to do is wait as long as possible until we start climbing. So I saw a sign. I thought, this is my chance, just before we went up to a second time Stelvio.
Umbrail Pass.
Umbrail Pass, yeah. I went there and I thought, now it's only up and down. And up, you don't have much help of teammates. I mean, there is no, you go up 20 kilometers an hour, so you don't have much help. You can do, I thought, okay, now I just do a time trial all the way to the finish. So I go as fast as possible up, and I do the fastest descent possible, and I luckily only lost 2 minutes.
Laurens went with you, but you dropped him immediately.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, when it went out, I had amazing legs again. So.
That's what was my question. Like your body escalated completely.
Yeah.
But then he's back.
All the dopamine and adrenaline came suddenly in one big burst. Like, wow, we can race again. So yeah, had amazing legs.
And you were pretty light.
Yeah, and I lost 2 kilos. So.
Yeah, as I said, you were still in the race lead. But I don't know if you were having problems later in the race. You were dropping on stage 19 and stage 20 to 4th in the GC. Quintana attacked a few times and he gave you some time. Weren't you feeling so well then, or was it calculated?
No. This last week was just really hard, and I lost a little bit of time every day. Quintana and Nibali, they were just slightly better climbers, so they took a little bit of time on me, but I knew there was going to be a time trial on the last day, so it was actually super exciting with 4 guys within 1 minute of each other. Me being 4th on the last day, so yeah.
Tomorrow I fuck them.
No. I was pretty confident actually.
Yeah?
As insecure as I was before the Giro, as confident I was before that last time trial. I thought, okay, I know my plan, I know my abilities to do a good time trial. I know the course, I know everything. if I just don't make any mistakes, I don't even need to ride my best ever TT to at least take the GC. So I thought all I can do is now to do my own race and go full gas.
You were winning on the next day, and I found it pretty interesting to see it on the TV again, that you were winning in the hot seat. Like sitting in the hot seat and then at one point knowing I won this Grand Tour. It was pretty amazing footage.
Yeah, that was really special feeling. Yeah.
Hendrik also told me that the media focus was super high in that year, and I guess afterwards it was still pretty high. You said you had an easy summer, but I think a lot of interviews.
Yeah, easy in the sense of not many races, but it was a big thing in the Netherlands. I was the first Dutch guy to ever win the Giro, so it was really special and a lot of media attention.
Yeah. As I already said, that year wasn't too bad afterwards too. Bing Bang Tour, you said it was kind of accidental, or?
Well, at least I wasn't in the shape of my life, but I still won it. So yeah. Then you have a good year.
And then world champion individual time trial.
That was really special for a few years. I won the Giro as a GC rider, but I still felt like a time trialist. Suddenly making the switch to GC. And this time trialing was still my ability and was still my biggest dream. And this course in Bergen, Norway, was perfect for me. And I had the best day of my career.
Nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. This tunnel, I thought my power meter was incorrect. Because in the first...
Oh, you had a power meter in the time?
Yeah. I always raced with a power meter. In normal stages, I would not look at it, but in time trials, I would look at it like for the first 5 or 10 kilometers to get my pacing right. You know, sometimes because of all the adrenaline, you start too quickly, or because you're too afraid or too nervous, you start too slow. Yeah. So to get my pacing right in the first part of the time trial, I would look at it. And I thought, oh man, this power meter is not working, and I was completely frustrated. But then I thought, okay, switch the button. My power meter is not working. I'm just going on feeling. So for the whole ride, my power meter was crazy high. I had numbers that I never saw before, like not 5 or 10 watts more, but like 30, 40 watts more, and. At the end, I won with more than a minute, so I think it was correct.
Just coming back, discovering M&M's peanuts on Andy's seat. Already prepared for a long evening.
Danke, Dennis.
All right, back into it. First question, did Tom Dumoulin ever pay the Besenwagen a visit in his career before tonight?
Dropping out in a broomwagon.
Yeah, riding with the bus to the finish.
With the last
the
Besenwagen. Yes, once.
Once?
I hated it. Yeah, once. Yeah. I thought it was the day before a time trial. So we had a big mountain stage, and the next day would be a time trial. So I tried to save energy and be in the last bus, but I hated it. So I made the decision to never be there anymore.
All right. Yeah,
but now you're talking about the gruppetto.
Yeah, the gruppetto.
The broomwagon is like when you stop the race. And,
yeah. I thought, okay.
But you know what a broomwagon is?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. But I've only been in there when I crashed out, I think. Yeah. Maybe, I don't remember. No, I don't remember.
Erase that memory from your mind.
No, I don't think I've ever been in a broomwagon.
Tell me more about that gruppetto experience then.
The last gruppetto in the Tour de France or any big Grand Tour is always going super slow on the climbs and going like maniacs downhill. So I was always like not going fast enough uphill and then risking my life downhill, and I didn't see the sense in that. So I did that once. I hated it, and I never wanted to.
So
be
you
in
didn't
there.
save energy for that time?
No. It cost me a lot of
stress hormones
energy.
were flushing your body.
But some of your teammates, they were the worst. You know, Marcel Kittel, Tom Velas.
Yeah. I know. They were the guys that I didn't want to be in with in the gruppetto.
All right, 2018. The team is called Sunweb, and it's actually pretty impressive. Totally impressive year. I already said you wrote both Giro and Tour, and you get second in both. But I already read an interview also where you said you didn't feel you were competing for the win.
Yeah, exactly. So winter 2017, I just had my big year and and I had a month off after the year, and the team came back to me with a meeting like, okay, what are we going to do next year? And they were talking about big goals, this and that, and I didn't have a goal in my mind. I had the feeling I didn't even have time to process what all happened in 2017. So I didn't feel completely ready to go into 2018, and I wanted to be in the Tour de France in 2018. So I wanted to solely focus on Tour de France, but the team wanted me to focus on the Giro again. But I thought, I already won it this year. Why would I focus again on the Giro? I want to go to the Tour de France. But then, they kept on pushing and pushing. And eventually we made the decision to do both. For me, it was not an option to not do the Tour de France, and for them, it was not an option to not do to do the Giro. So I thought, okay,
so you met in the middle.
We met in the middle to do both or none. But it went both, and I had this plan in my head. As soon as I knew that we were going to do both, I had this plan in my head because there was one more week in between Giro and Tour de France because of European Championships, football or something. It was at least one more week than usually. So I thought with this extra week I could maybe prepare really well for both of them. But I found out that it was actually one of my best years, but also the year that really took something out of me, physically but also mentally, because I was not mentally ready. Coming from 2017 year, and I just didn't feel completely ready, but I needed to focus, and I had the feeling for the first time in my career I was racing for other people other than myself. I was not really racing with my ambition as big goal in my head, but the ambitions of others. So for the first time in my career, I felt like my dreams became the dreams of many. Which was very difficult to cope with. Suddenly I had all these people to satisfy. I had the feeling I needed to satisfy a lot of people. So I performed really well. I didn't win, but I performed really well. But I never had the feeling it was the big year where I had a good feeling, and it was always on 95% for my feeling.
Okay. That year went even further with big success, but when I read it, second in World Championship time trial, second in team time trial World Championship, and fourth in the road race in the World Championship. You were kind of the most successful cyclist in that year, but always second or wood medal, we call it in Germany.
And in a very unhealthy way, the way that I said in the beginning. So I did Giro, Tour, and I wanted to become also world champion on the road. So I had way too many goals in 1 year. Only Pogacar can do those things, not Tom Dumoulin. So I was at training camp, and Carsten Kroon, also a former professional Dutch guy, 10 years older, I think, maybe even more, but a good friend of mine. And he came to visit me on altitude camp, and I was completely alone after the Tour de France, preparing for the World Championships. And he saw me, he was retired already, but he just came to visit me as a friend and to see me for a few days. And he said to me, Tom, you're completely out of your mind. And he saw me as a completely unhealthy man at that time. He said, this is not going well. You need to stop this, and you need to take a step back. And I said, it's going all right, it's going all right. I really need to focus on the big world championships. It's going to be a really nice course for me, and blah, 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 blah. And I had good results at the world championships, but at the end of that season, I really noticed, like, okay, my body is just slowly shutting down on me. And I didn't want to admit it to myself. Yeah.
Spoiler, in a few years later, you took your time out of the professional career, but still on contract. Did that words of Carsten Kroon work till then?
Definitely.
From then on?
At that time in 2018, his words didn't come through anymore. I was completely in. I wanted more and more and more, and I was asking too much of myself for too long already, and I wanted to satisfy everyone around me. I felt a lot of pressure, and it was just not a healthy way of living or doing top sport. But I didn't see it, and he was the first one to see it and to say it to me, like, Tom, this is not good, like you're doing now. You need to take a step back. And I didn't want to listen, and I listened to him a few years later, but maybe a few years too late.
Still talking about that Giro 2018, because I was following as a fan, and it was pretty spectacular. Simon Yates had one of his best 2 weeks. And he was
until the big explosion. Implosion.
He was leading the race a long while, and then you were always like be under the best, and still like from the outside were able to win it. And then I just want to tell that quote from, it's one of my favorite quotes from George Bennett, who said, like, on stage 18, Chris Froome, who was a bit back all the time, like not really under the best three, and stage 19, he did an 80-kilometer solo, which wouldn't be so uncommon today, but then it was. And George Bennett, Froome, he did a bigger comeback than Jesus on Easter Sunday.
That's great.
So
I never heard that one.
he was winning the Giro then with that attack.
Yeah, that was He had actually in the first 2 weeks, I never felt like I was the best in the Giro because Simon Yates was just flying, and then suddenly Simon Yates on the Finestre had his big implosion, and then suddenly I was the best rider in GC, even though I didn't feel at my best in the Giro, but I was always stable. I was never winning. I won the first time trial, but I was never on the but then on Colle de Finestre, stage 18, Simon Yates completely cracked, and he dropped in the beginning of the climb. And I thought, here I am with my 95% legs, but I'm going to win the Giro because suddenly I'm the best GC rider. And then I had that feeling for 5 kilometers, I think, and then Froome went, and he began his 80-kilometer solo, and he took 4 minutes on me, I think, on everyone. Yeah, that was spectacular. Yeah.
It was that coupled climb, I guess, yeah?
With gravel.
Gravel climb, yeah.
Yeah.
This was totally exotic at that time.
Yeah.
It still is. No? I mean, just compare our shirts. Who's the exotic one here?
Yeah, Paul already told you he has to win the German championship tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I'll put a little bit of pressure on him. He needs it.
Yeah, and in the Tour de France you also got second, which is crazy. But Geraint Thomas was always out of reach.
Yeah. I attacked G. Thomas a few times in the last week, but I never had the feeling that I could drop him. And my attacks almost cost me also my own podium position. So then I decided to play safe and to go for the podium. And yeah, worked out. So I'm really happy with that. I mean, I never had the feeling I could win that Tour de France.
Yeah.
But that one was, for me as a spectator, was one of the best Tour de France. Like, it was super exciting to see you both battling it out. I remember.
Yeah, but also that Geraint Thomas was unexpectedly the stronger of them two, of Froome. So, and also the Giro, I found that day was quite epic. Of course, for you, it wasn't that well, or at least for 5Ks, it felt good. But as a spectator, it was awesome. I mean, you could also see the master plan behind it, what Sky planned back then. So it was, I think 2018 was for us as fans a quite nice year to watch.
I can imagine, but it cost me a helmet because in the bus I threw the helmet down the ground.
On which day? On the Col de Finestre?
On the Finestre, yeah. So I wasn't so happy about that day, but...
All right, let's go into the year 2019, still Sunweb. And now, some problems start. Tirreno went okay, 4th place. UAE, 6th place. Milan-Sanremo, 11th. Not too bad. And then a crash in the Giro d'Italia. Pretty much at the start, stage 4. And as I understood, there you started having knee problems. Or was it before?
Yeah, that was an even more unhealthy year. So
it accumulated.
Yeah. It started to build up. 2019 I felt more and more the pressure, and I didn't feel good from the start of the season. And my big goal was going to be the Giro again, to go for GC, because it was a course that suited my abilities way better with some time trial kilometers. So I went there, but I crashed in stage 4, I think. And I crashed on my knee. And I crashed, okay, I will show you. But I crashed and I landed with my knee, I landed on my chainring. So it splitted my tendon that goes over my knee. It got split, but I didn't know at the time. So I had a wound, and it got big quite quickly. And I went home, of course, because I couldn't finish anymore. I couldn't ride anymore. And I went for a checkup in hospital, but they checked real quick and they didn't see anything, and I tried to ride and to prepare the Tour de France, because I thought, okay, I crashed out, now I tried to prepare the Tour de France. So I went to the Dauphiné instead. I had some training. It got swollen every time. I had a lot of pain. I couldn't really sprint or do intervals or something, but I could ride. But it would get swollen a lot after the ride. So I went to Dauphiné. And I wasn't even too bad. I got second in the time trial, and then after but it didn't feel good, so I didn't finish it. I went home, I had another check. They had an operation, and they removed a bit of plastic or road things from the road. They removed out of it, So I had this big Band-Aid on my knee, and I went straight out of the operation. I couldn't even move it. I didn't even know what was going to be possible. But I decided, okay, I need to go to the Tour de France, and I need to make it. So, and to order to make it, I need to go on altitude camp now. So I went into the car with my knee packed with bandages, rode to training camp, and it was such a stressful time. I was fighting with the team as well. I had a lot of pain in my knee, and it was just unbelievable. And then midway on my way to the Alps, Hendrik Werner was waiting for me in the Alps. And midway, I called him up crying. I'm not doing this. I'm going back home. Yeah. And I went home, I had a lot of rest. Started back in training, wanted to make it to the Vuelta instead. So, okay, no Giro, no Tour, but then maybe Vuelta. So I went back on altitude camp again to Livigno this time in the Alps, still with my knee hurting and getting swollen every time. And then, it just didn't work out. I couldn't even walk. I couldn't ride my bike. I could do nothing. But the team was not really helping me for my feeling. And then I went home. I had another check in the hospital, and then it turned out that it completely split. So my tendon over my knee just got ruptured because of the impact. And because I was riding with it for 2 months afterwards, they got a scar tissue inside the tendon. So I needed an operation, and now a good one, to remove all the scar tissue and to get it back together. And that was the end of my year. But it was such a stressful time, those 2 months, or actually already for a long time, that I was almost relieved when I heard the doctor say, you cannot ride anymore this year. You have to take rest. And that I was super happy. I thought, finally I'm getting my rest. And then later that year I moved to Jumbo-Visma. So I really thought, okay, I had my break, I had my half year off. Now, because of this injury, I'm moving teams. I'm finally up for a fresh start with Jumbo-Visma. But that year, 2019, was really not nice.
Was the team pressuring you to go to these training camps, to do the Giro, or the Tour after the crash, and not doing more tests and more examinations and so on?
Yeah, we had the examinations, but they couldn't really properly see it.
So, but you said, I have knee pain. You were probably maybe the highest paid rider in the team, or one of the most important riders of the team, so the biggest asset, and they didn't pay enough attention in your eyes to how you're feeling and how healthy you are in that moment.
Yeah, I don't want to talk bad about anyone or about my former teams. That's not what I'm here for. But I think we all could have handled it differently. Me in the first place.
Yeah. And was that the moment where you said, "All right, I might need a change, like a different environment, just in general"?
Yeah, I think I needed that. I was for a long time already in this team. For the last 2 years before my move, we were also sometimes arguing and discussing about program. And for example, 2018, when we did both Giro and Tour, which was not really my point of view. So we started to have more and more discussions. So I thought, together with this problem with my knee, having all this stress, I thought a new environment would be good for me and Team Sunweb. So then eventually I moved to Team Jumbo-Visma. Yeah.
But you met a lot of old companions again at Jumbo-Visma, right?
Sorry?
So sports director, I think the sport manager, also Marijn Zeeman, he was with you at your former team. So it was not all new. But
No. I knew a lot of guys there. I had even good friends there, like Jos van Emden and Paul Martens, and I knew quite some riders there, and a lot of staff members. So it was a new environment, but not completely new.
Yeah. Looking back, did the change help? Or from there on,
No,
it didn't go too well. Yeah.
no,
So
it didn't
the
help.
problems were more your problems than the
Yeah, I think
problems
so.
of the environment.
I think at that time, what helped me during the first few years and during my best years of my career was the freedom that I felt. It felt like I was puzzling. I had this puzzle in front of me, and I had the freedom. I had all the help I wanted and needed within the team or outside the team who wanted to help me, but it was still my puzzle. And they gave me tools to figure it out, and it was beautiful. I could shift a little bit with training and nutrition, and that was getting the best out of me. And then the later years of Team Sunweb and in Jumbo-Visma, it felt like it wasn't my puzzle anymore. I was just the one putting the pieces. I felt like the one who was being told by trainer, coaches, nutritionists, okay, now you take that piece and you put it there, and now you take that piece and you put it there, and then you finally solve the puzzle. You win the Tour de France, but what's my fun? That's not my puzzle. That's a puzzle of you telling me to put it there. So I think what I needed was freedom, and what I chose was a very structured, protocolized team. Who are very good. I mean, it's an amazing team. And like I said, I still have a really good relationship with a lot of riders, with a lot of staff. But it wasn't the right team for me in the right time. And yeah, I can see that now. But back then, I thought I need a new environment. They really want me. They have all the best trainers, nutritionists. They have all the best riders. This is a team who can really win the Tour de France, and that was my big goal. So I think this move, with the knowledge I had back then, I would make it again. With the knowledge I have now, I would choose differently.
To which team you would have changed now then?
For example, a team like Bora, like Red Bull, Bora, what's the name now? Red Bull, Bora, unsere. No, but back then they had a great team already. That could be a team who was very professional, but also had who would give their riders the freedom of making own decisions and thinking about their own training program and race program and stuff like that. Yeah.
But you also described really well, with your own words now, the change of cycling in those years. I think that was for sure that time when a lot of things changed. You know, more structure in the team. So yeah, it's
which is really good. I mean, I think the teams nowadays are much more structured than 10 years ago. But you see nowadays also that it works best for riders who can function in that structure. Guys like Jonas Vingegaard, who really likes that a nutritionist tells him what he needs to eat for breakfast, that a trainer tells him what he exactly needs to train, how he needs to sleep, where he needs to sleep, what his race program is going to be, and he only needs to worry about riding as fast as possible, and he really likes it, and I can understand it. But I was not that kind of person. I like to have my little own project, you know. And what I admire, for example, nowadays about the big guys is actually Mathieu van der Poel or Tadej Pogacar. They're using all the knowledge, all the data that there is now. So all the structure there is, they are using it, but using it to their advantage, and not having. They found the ideal balance between the knowledge from nowadays and their own freedom. And I really admire when I see that, and I thought, oh, that's a bit how I would have wanted it in my days. But I think, put that aside, I think I was just also myself. I was just doing it. I was over ambitious, over perfectionistic. I was just doing everything too much.
Yeah. But did you enjoy cycling in that moment, or those years?
No.
2021?
No. I hated it. Yeah. In 2020, I absolutely hated cycling. Yeah.
But that was also the moment where you took like responsibility and said you need a break for yourself.
Yeah, so 2020 was Corona year. We had a big break, but we still needed to train. There was a lot of. It was very unsure. Then suddenly we had a race season, which was only like 3.5 months or something, but everything crammed into 3.5 months, and then we needed to race everything suddenly. So I was doing all the preparation races, then Tour de France, then Classics, then Vuelta, and with me being mentally and physically already at my limit for a few years, it completely killed me. And at the end of I dropped out of the Vuelta. I was completely fucked, if you can say so. My heart rate would not climb over 145 anymore. I could not get over 145. I was just physically and mentally completely overtrained. So I took a month off after 2020, and I started back training again. But I immediately felt tired again. After a few days of training, I was just as tired as I was the month before. So my body was completely drained, and I was going on training camp in January 2021, and then I decided to actually stop because I couldn't do it anymore. I had a talk with Marijn Zeeman and with Richard Pleuge, the manager of Jumbo-Visma, and I said, I'm at this moment I'm unable to ride. I'm even tired if I ride 2 hours and I come back. I'm laying in my bed the whole day, and I cannot see myself preparing the season. I hate the bike already for quite a while. So I said to them, I need to take a break, and I don't know if I'm going to come back, but I'm taking this break, and we keep each other up to date. But at this moment, I'm unable to be a professional cyclist.
Yeah, and they accepted it.
Yeah, there was no other option.
Yeah,
they also saw that my blood values were also down the drain. I had the testosterone of a little girl, so it was really not good. You have a CK value, which is the how do you say this in English? But it's a value that you measure in your blood that takes the damage of your muscles. And it was sky high. It was like I ran 5 marathons in a row, and I was physically and mentally just overtrained. So I took a break. And that was it. Yeah.
But there's actually from that deep point on quite funny story of your comeback in that year, because I was reading that you at some point in the year, it didn't take a year, it took a few months, I guess. You were calling the national coach, Koos Morenhout, at that point, and we're telling him that I didn't ride my bike until now, or I didn't ride my bike yet this year, but I want to go to Tokyo Olympics. And I looked it up. You started racing on the 6th of June, and the Olympic time trial was on the 28th of July. So this was your first race. I don't know how much further you started cycling that year, and you nearly won it.
Well, okay. Are you ready for a long story, or okay? I will try to make it as short as possible. So I had the break at the end of January. I couldn't ride my bike. I was unable to. Yeah. So I took a break as long as I wanted to. And it turned out to be 2 months. And finally,
So 2 months without bike? No
without
sport.
bike, nothing. I didn't do any sports. I didn't do any running, no bike, no fitness, nothing. But I didn't gain much weight because that's just not in my physique. And I also tried to watch it a little bit. But then it was the end of March, and I didn't ride 1 minute on the bike. And then end of March, beginning of April, I had my first ride. I think 1 hour, completely super slow. And I knew that the coach Moerenhout, the national coach, he needed to have his selection for the Olympics ready by beginning of May. And I called him mid-April, and I had only 1 week of riding a bike. And I said, Coach, I almost didn't ride my bike. I didn't do any races, but I want to go to the Olympics. Will you select me, please? And I remember the words that he said. It was very flattering, but also it gave me a lot of confidence. And he said, Tom, there's in the Netherlands, at the time I was also lucky, in the Netherlands, we only have one time trial specialist who, on a good day, can be on the podium, and it's going to be you. So I can select anyone else, and they can do well. They can do 12 or something, but there's never going to be anyone on the podium. Probably also not you, but at least then we tried, you know? And that's all I needed to hear. And then he selected me. And then, well, I needed to train. But I want to take you with me why I per se wanted to Tokyo. Because actually, I thought to finish my career at the beginning of 2021. I was ready to finish my career. In the first few weeks after my retirement, I felt so happy and relieved that I didn't need to ride my bike anymore, that I thought, I'm not riding it anymore. I don't want this. But in the back of my mind was Rio 2016, where with a broken wrist, as a top favorite, I got second and not gold. It felt like a loss, and it felt like a missed opportunity. And ever since that day, I had Tokyo in my mind. Ever since that day, I wouldn't say every day, but at least a lot of times I had Tokyo in my mind. And I knew that the course would suit me really well. And I took my break, but I thought this would also mean that I would not go to Tokyo. And that was just simply impossible for me. I had to be there. I just had to be there. And I didn't care anymore if it would be gold or 20th or 30th, but I just had to be there to at least finish this Olympics story. So I said to myself, okay, I will regret it if I don't go. So I'm going to try my very best. I'm still pretty much overtrained, but I'm going to try my very best, and that's what I did. And I had a short amount of training time and preparation time, but yeah, I got silver, and that was silver that felt like gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you enjoy the time? And were you actually able to enjoy the time from like the point you started until the Olympics? You could do it the way you wanted it?
A lot, because I had the freedom again. So when I came back, I asked the team, will you please let me do it completely on my own? So I did it without any help from the team. luckily they let me ride Tour de Suisse, but for that time I had my own trainer that I knew from before, but they knew it also. It was Louis de la Haye. It was a trainer from our region, who was also trainer in Rabobank and also in Jumbo-Visma for many, many years, so they knew him. And I was working together with him, and it felt like my own puzzle again. And I really enjoyed my preparation for Tokyo. And that's why in Tokyo I decided also, if I can do cycling this way, then I enjoy it again. And I perform really well. I perform much better than that I follow guidelines. But yeah, I found out later that after Tokyo I came back into the team and into the team routine. And they gave me a lot of freedom. They really worked with me. But I think something cracked also with me in Tokyo. My complete ambition, my need to be in Tokyo wasn't there anymore after Tokyo, and my need to be in cycling. So I did one more year in 2021, and then decided, okay, this is this circle is finished. And
I just would have asked, so why didn't you stop then? But
well, yeah,
you stopped shortly after. Not talking anymore about the 2022 season. I think didn't feel so right anymore, and maybe out of the experience of the year before, it wasn't too difficult to call it quit, or was it?
No. I had the experience before that life is good without a bike. So I did 2 months off then, and I enjoyed it, and I wasn't afraid anymore also to retire. So when I found out that I missed that holy fire, you know, you need that fire within you to perform at your best, and I didn't have it anymore after Tokyo. I could perform well one last time, but after that I never felt that anymore. And then in 2022 I decided, okay, I had a beautiful career. I got everything out of it. I learned so much. I had the privilege of meeting so many nice people. For me, this is it. I don't need to be riding for 3 or 4 more years. Yeah, without the holy fire, you know. I can do that, but why?
It was also already your 11th year as a pro.
Yeah.
And it actually isn't so far back. It's like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Feels like ages. Yeah.
Did you always have a plan B in your mind? Like at one point where you felt, all right, maybe next year it's the last year.
Or do you have one now?
Or do you have one now? Yeah.
But no,
like a plan B, like what to do after the career, you know, like which direction to go?
No, nothing. No. I never. Well, I had many ideas in the back of my mind. I thought maybe go back to studying and now study medicine again. So, but it's a really long study, and I felt like I didn't have the age anymore to to finish it at 45 or something. And then when I completely retired, end of 22, then I had no plan at all. But I thought, okay, I just take half year off, completely off. I do nothing, and I see what comes from there. Yeah. And as long as I was out of the cycling world, the more it pulled me back. You know, I wanted to go to races again. I watched a lot of cycling on TV, and I thought maybe there's still a future for me in cycling, but not as a rider, but just in the cycling world, you know. And I started to try all different things. I'm ambassador for a bike brand. I'm doing analyst job for the Dutch TV. And yeah, I'm still very much involved in everything related to cycling, and I love it. Yeah.
As I got to know you this evening, it feels like you have a new puzzle now
Yeah.
For the
yeah.
for the upcoming time.
So, speaking of retirement plans, I called one of your friends from your training group in the Netherlands, which is like about 10. How many guys is it? Like for you like 6, 7,
more
8?
or less like 8 riders or something.
Yeah. So all retired and still active professional riders, all living in the same area. And really, I didn't know Laurens was part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I already forgot that Laurens has a house also. Because, you know, he's always traveling.
You say only on the road.
Laurens ten Dam. Maybe you know the name because he was going to jail in the US because the people thought he's a gay cyclist.
And he invented gravel, did he?
Different story. But Pascal Enkorn, he told me I should ask you about the current standings of your com hunting. You know?
Of my what?
He told me
Strava comms.
you've never been on Strava throughout your career, and you told him, I'm going to get all the comms in our training region after the career. So how's that going?
I had I said in an interview, like, oh, when I'm retired, I'm going to suddenly post all my old trainings files, and then I get all the comms in my region, not knowing that comm hunting is a real thing nowadays, and those comms are so fast, it's unbelievable, and people do it with backwind power 6, you know, and doing whole. Okay, so that was not possible. I decided to keep the training data to myself.
And then he told me, and I was a bit confused when you said you were so ambitious and focused and, you know, trying to reach new goals every time. He told me, and it's a quote, for a GC guy, he's pretty relaxed, you know, you can have a beer with him, and even after a training ride, you know, usually the GC guys, they go to, you know, have a massage and, you know, take care of themselves. But with Tom, it was never a problem to have a beer after training.
After races? I don't know about that. No, but, well, I think because my mind was never. I thought cycling was fun, but it was not everything in my life, and I don't really like riders who are only about cycling and weighing every gram of their food, and those cyclists who have nothing else than cycling is not really my thing. So I would love to hang out, but I think that was also a little bit my problem. I wanted to do everything, you know. I wanted to be the best professional rider I could be, being very professional, but I also wanted to be a fun guy to hang out with, and I wanted to also drink a beer with my friends in the evening, and it's too much. You have to choose. As a professional cyclist, you have to actually solely focus on cycling, and that's your thing, and you do that as best as you can. Yeah.
But it would be really cool if you succeed in everything.
Yeah, it would be, but well, I think it's impossible. So yeah.
Yeah, I heard you're a quite good runner nowadays. If you like to, I heard of a 32 10 kilometers.
Yeah, that's true.
We have some triathletes here.
You don't need to clap for that. There's so many German and Dutch people who are much faster than that.
Not in this room, probably.
Yeah, not in this room. No, but I really like sports, and I'm good at condition sports.
Sports,
physical sports. Yeah. So I run, and when I go, I like to go fast. But it's not really with the goal of being really fast. But I did a half marathon, and I really want to do a marathon in the future, but only when when I can prepare it well. And preparing well doesn't mean doing a top sport preparation, but at least, I mean, to do like 80 kilometers a week or something, and now I'm not able to. Yeah.
Could you do a competition with a number without going full gas?
Good question.
So literally just going for fun, you know, like...
No, that's impossible. Yeah, I never did it. Maybe it is possible, but I never tried. Because even when I go running, I just completely kill myself when I have this number on. Yeah, I don't know why, but it feels nice also. I didn't try it yet. I also thought about, because that's also a little bit the reason I still like to ride my bike nowadays. I'm not doing it often anymore, once, twice a week, but I thought about doing a gravel race, for example. But
yeah, but it's like the story is a bit like that Laurens ten Dam is trying to convince him for 2 years already or something, so he's still trying hard.
Yeah, but I know myself, and I know also the gravel scene nowadays, which is also getting more and more competitive. But I know myself, and I cannot pin up this number being with guys like you and Laurens and on the start line, and then say, okay, goodbye, have fun, and I ride my own pace. It's impossible. So if I'm on that start line, my fun is to be competitive. That's my fun, and otherwise I wouldn't see a reason why to do it, you know.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Yeah. So, but that's withholding me from doing any gravel races, because I know I'm going to be this sick top sport guy who needs to train every day again. I don't want that. So I like my life now. I'm much more fresh. I feel much healthier. So, but maybe in the future, yeah. But then I really try. That will be my first time to pin up a number and to just ride for fun. Until I cannot.
So my last topic for this evening is there's a story I read, which is kind of similar to a ex-team colleague of yours, Dominic Klemme. We already talked about him, because you went to a bicycle tour without a number to Nepal after your career. And Dominic also, after his career, he wanted to do a traveling around the world. And he went to Nepal, and then he quit traveling around the world. That was it. Like, he told me his experience was too intense there. And then he had to take a break from traveling again. But your experience seemed to be pretty good.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. So after my career, I decided to go on this trip. It was actually organized by Bram Tankink, also a former professional, together with a group of Dutch investors, and they were all looking to do something good for the world, to invest in solar panels in Nepal, because it's high up, so you get a lot of solar energy. And there's not a lot of sun, so it would seem like the perfect. And there's a lot of villages who are out of electricity, so you can really help those villages. So that was the idea of the trip, and we went to a quite unknown place in Nepal, the Mustang area, and it was absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was really nice adventure, and but it was not about speed. It was just about enjoying Nepal and the beauty of the big mountains. Yeah.
But you were riding bikes there?
Yeah, we were going from place to place on bikes.
Yeah, that's kind of a good ending here, I guess. Like, I don't want to ask you for future plans, because that's the puzzle, and you're already on it.
I just wanted to ask that, how his current puzzle is going, because you're building your own house, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really like to
Pascal
puzzle,
told
huh?
you well. No, I found my new goal this year, and that was completely renovating from bottom to top, a full house. So I'm not doing everything myself, but I'm doing quite some things myself, and I'm contracting everything and organizing and planning, and So I like it. Yeah. But for the future, I don't really have. Well, one big future plan is that my girlfriend is pregnant. Next month, I'm getting a baby. That's going to be a big future, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but other than that, I don't have, like, as a professional cyclist, I don't know how that was for you, but you're always with big goals in your mind. You always have these things in your mind that you live up to, you know? And for the moment, I'm just happy with the life that I'm leading now. I'm happy with the bike playing a big role in my life, with cycling playing a big role in my life, and yeah, it's good like this. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm busy. So life is good.
That's a good ending. Last thing, with a partner, you wrote a book, and at the moment it's only in Dutch, but you already said it's coming out in Germany. So
it's coming out.
Do you know when?
No, I'm not. I don't know when.
Okay,
but
we will tell people when it's like.
But hopefully soon. Yeah. So I'm quite excited. Yeah, it was quite the adventure to go. We went to places that were important to my career. We traveled to those places and we talked along the way, and we really worked on the book together. And he started writing, and after that I started correcting and shifting, shaving, and eventually the book is out. And I really enjoyed the process, and it was also good for me to find a place after my career and to look back it was just almost a therapeutical process of writing this book. So I'm really happy with it. Yeah.
Before I say thank you, does anybody have some questions at last to Tom? There. I have to handle you a microphone.
Ja, Basti. Und Gewinner, ne?
Ja,
gleichzeitig.
Danke. Hi. Thanks for the nice talk. I want to go back to the 2020 season. One of the most iconic pictures I have in mind of you is you and Wout van Aert standing on top of Planche de Belfi and watching Tadej Pogačar destroying the dreams of winning the Tour de France. And I want to ask you two questions. First, you were talking about not enjoying riding your bike and not to doing your own puzzle. First, what was it to have the new role of not having your own puzzle, but helping Primož Roglič to win the Tour de France and not trying to winning it on your own? And second question, how was the feeling of seeing that time trial of Pogačar? Thanks.
As a helper, I was happy to do that for him, but in the back of my mind, I was also a rider capable of potentially winning a Tour de France. So to help a teammate win one was satisfying and painful at the same time, because he was almost reaching what I couldn't, and especially that year it was very difficult, and like I said, I really hated the bike that year. So it was very difficult, but luckily Primož was is a really good guy, so I was very eager to help him as good as I could. Yeah. And to watch Pogačar destroy everyone was very difficult. Pogačar was not as well known as now. It was one of his first times that he really was amazingly good, and we were like, how is this possible? We were taking time from him 3 weeks, every day a little bit, every day a little bit more, every day a little bit more, and Primož was feeling good, and suddenly on the last day we all lost it, and yeah, we just couldn't believe our eyes. We almost celebrated the night before. We almost celebrated the Tour de France victory already, you know. Well, not like that, but with our feelings, yes. So we just couldn't believe it. And now, yeah, you see Pogačar flying, and he proved there that he's just the world-class rider that he is now, and that he's just a tiny bit better than Primož has ever been. So feels better now.
Noch jemand? Da.
With your background, with the story you had, the three of them are always discussing about young cyclists getting into the World Tour too fast, skipping the under-23 category. And Andy always emphasizes how important it is, probably from the perspective of an agent. With your story, would that be an advice you would give to young cyclists to take time to get into the World Tour, because they have to face the pressure? Like you said, your dream became the dream of many. Would you give that advice to young cyclists to take their time? And do you see this development also kind of critical?
Well, times have changed. I started cycling when I was 15, and I only broke through as an under-23 rider at 19. And I needed to learn everything by myself. There was not the knowledge and the data that there is now. So I think young talents nowadays, they are training professionally since they are 15 already. So for a few years, they have this knowledge and this experience of training and nutrition and everything, and so it's more and more professional. So I think it's much easier also for them to make the step on a young age. But that doesn't mean that you're mentally already ready for that step. But on the other hand, I mean, the young guys are proving everyone wrong, because many young talents are breaking through, and the best that we have now are Evenepoel or Pogačar, and they came into the pro ranks with 19, 18. So yeah, I think for some it might be better to wait, but for the best talents, mentally and physically, being being mentally talented is also a talent. It would make no difference to go fast. Yeah. So
maybe what you told, or I would get out of that if you feel under pressure, or if you feel the pressure getting higher and you feel uneasy, then take time.
I think the teams are also better organized than 10 years ago, of seeing problems or having coaching. Also, coaching is better evolved than 10 years ago. So, yeah, I don't think it's really bad. But I don't know. Do you think differently, Andy?
Well, like you said, there are some, people like Remco Evenepoel, but I think he was already mentally different to most of the 18 years old, so he was really mature in that perspective, that he could already structure his day or live that professional life. I mean, he wasn't maybe ready to face the press, to face he was a little bit like the Geraint Thomas and Luke Rowe. They call him the little bastard. Yeah. And now it's a joke, but I think in the beginning everybody thought of him like this because he was acting like that. For sure, those guys you just mentioned are probably the two best cyclists in the world, or maybe two of the three best cyclists in the world. But I see so many young guys struggling with the pressure to become pro that early already. And for example, if you see the current world champion in under 19, he became the second time a world champion on the mountain bike also. And he did a post on Instagram, and you thought of a 30-year-old person that reached his life goal under this post, and I thought immediately, he feels that pressure already now, and he's not even a pro yet, And I think those examples are not a good example for everyone, It's just exceptional what Remco Evenepoel can do at that age. And even Tadej Pogačar, I mean, he was early, very good, but he also took some time, And I think the danger of becoming a pro too early is much higher than everything else, So there's always a higher risk to turn pro early and then struggle than, taking 1 or 2 years under 23 with a little bit less pressure, and then, you're 20 and not 18 when you turn pro, and you can, stay out of the focus a little bit more. So, yeah. For sure, for some, maybe it's also a waste of time when you do an under 23 year. I mean, Remco, I think in the first year he already won at the World Tour level, but I think he's one of the only guys that could do that like he did.
All right, it's late, I'm hungry. And I want to say thank you I had a really good evening with you, Tom. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.